What up? I'm Josh Paulson, and it is 11:15 p.m., and I'm having fun recording these still, even though I have to get up at like 6 a.m. tomorrow. This isn't a bad idea. So, I want to talk a little bit about the syntax that I ended up using with the engine. So, there's different syntaxes for kinetic novel engines. I feel like that's kind of an obvious thing to say, but they generally are based around RenP, which RenP's fine. I don't have a I wanted to have a different syntax for myself, but I don't think that their syntax is bad. One of the things with it, though, is that it's based around Python, and if you end up stepping away from Python, you can end up trying some different things. I think that in the context of RenP, which is it's basically a visual novel creator written in Python, I think that it makes a lot of sense, and it gives you some really cool options, but in this context, it doesn't really make sense, and in a lot of contexts where people are making visual novels, or when they're making them for the web, I don't understand why I understand why it's the default. They're trying to get people to move from NP to their new engine, but I wanted to try something different. So just talking about kind of some of the mindsets and ideas with the syntax. One of the tricks is that I wanted it to be consistent. I didn't want it to be, well, you know what, this is how you handle characters and this is how you handle audio. I originally had it that way. I ended up switching it up. But on top of that, I didn't want you to have to write a bunch of stuff to instantiate objects. I didn't want it to be, well, do this, create, blah, 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 blah. I wanted it to be fairly straightforward. So you have these text files that you write, and Showpony ends up parsing them. The visual novel module, I should say, parses them and ends up basically registering it and updating stuff. So I'm going to give a fairly simple example. So we have James.classCharacter. If there is a new object called, then it is assumed to be of type character. And we can see in here that with James, if I go down, I will see that James is a character. VN character. So MVN character. And you'll see that there's another character class. I won't explain that right now, but MVN character. And when you create an object, then you can end up setting class, style, content, and the basic setup is that you have object name, and then you have command. And this is the same regardless of the type of object. If it's the overall engine, because there's some engine commands, if it is music, if it is a character, if it is a text box, you have that. Now, if you do not specify an object name, then it is going to assume the main text box. And if you do not specify command, it is going to assume content. And the result of that is that if you end up having nothing at the beginning, it will assume that you are updating the text box's content. And that's where we can get text that we are just displaying like this. So this makes it very easy to write text because you basically just do tab, one or more tabs, and then you write out the text that you want to write. So as an example, let's say that I end up deciding, let's just have some text in the beginning. So this is text, la la la. I wanted writing text to be very easy because this is what people are going to be doing more than anything. Object name does not have a command called command. Oh yeah, I also have some error messages come up. So because I have that in there and that doesn't exist, it can't have that command. So if I go back now, you remember roommate's replacement, huh? This is text. La la la. So I've got this text displaying in there now. I'm going to remove that. If I wanted to, I can remove the .content notes here, and these will still work the same as before. You can add it in for clarity, but it's not needed because content is the assumed command. Then you've also got class, which changes the extra class on it. You've got style, which ends up setting styles for them. And so the basic syntax is object command. And yeah, I wanted it again to be fairly consistent, and I wanted it to be fairly intuitive. So you write in the object, you write in the command, and then if it has any parameters, you tab out, you put as many tabs as you want, and then you write the parameter. So that's where we have James, and that's the character James, and then we have the command for content assumed, and then we put in pose, eyes, all the images, and this is the same as doing this. So that's how I have the engine set up. It assumes defaults. It assumes what you meant if you don't put in anything, but it allows you to have a lot of flexibility, and it also makes it pretty easy to add to the show pony to add to the visual novel module, because the way that the commands are called, like if I end up going to m.character, and I go down, so we've got content, we've got actually characters, not a great example. If I go to audio, audio has more functions. Basically, anything that I put in here is just another command that can be called in here. So we've got, this is static is an audio, so we got play, we got remove, we got loop, we got volume, and that is all just, those are all just different functions that we have in here. So I can add whatever function I want in here to the object, and then that allows me to call that type of command from here. So the technical term is that it's a function of an object. As far as JavaScript is concerned, for users, the way that I state it is that it's a command. So that is the basic concept behind the Visual Novel Engine's script.